Alright, what it is, Daniacs. As promised, I am going to be extending my criticism of Abrahamic theology to Islam. Now, we have Christianity and Islam here, so I get a twofer. By far, I have criticized Christianity the most, but that is what I am most familiar with. So I don't want the Muslims to feel left out. So I am absolutely extending my criticism to Islam. Now, I'm a non-Abrahamic true monotheist. Followers of Abraham are a blood cult of sin worshippers. But now, if you do not take your holy book seriously enough to live and kill exactly as prescribed in that holy book, then you are a fake fucking believer. Yahweh, Jesus, and Allah are desert war gods of hypocrisy. They are not the one true creator. But now I am, like I said, non-Abrahamic true monotheist, but the closest thing out there to my theology that already exists is called omnitheism, which is omnitheism is the belief that there is divinity within all religions. There is truth in all religions. And that aligns with the dark light theology. See, I've developed my theology way more than anything you can find on omnitheism. I didn't even know omnitheism existed till about a week ago or so. So let me see here. I'm going to be skipping around in this a little bit. I watched this earlier to try to get some mental timestamps to jump around on. Now, I have seen, this is my first time reacting to Sneeko. I've seen him around a bunch. Big props for him sparring Sean Strickland. He got clipped, but also he was going up against an ex-UFC champion, and Sean would clip most motherfuckers. I'm looking forward to the rematch, Nico. I don't know if he's dying to get back in there for a rematch with Sean or not, but I hope so. I hope he goes and brushes up and gives it a round two. Now, Nick Fuentes, to me, is annoying as fuck. He's obviously gay as fuck, in the closet about it, which is kind of a common thing with all these homosexually repressed religions that emphasize brotherhood while suppressing femininity. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but Nick Fuentes was kind of brought out of the closet, pun intended. He was brought out of the dark and propped up right after the Charlie Kirk assassination. There was a couple people propped up to kind of fill the void that Charlie left, except for Charlie was breaking beyond the controls of the ghost hand behind the scenes. And the people that were propped up in his place are firmly held by that same controlling ghost hand of the elites. And I will absolutely extend that criticism to both of these guys right here. They are influencers that are controlled by the ghost hand, okay? So, enough preamble. Fuck. 3 minutes in, let's get into this shit.
Active colonies actually had a state church. Each one of the 13, almost all of them, had a state church where the state authorized a specific church, a specific Protestant church. And so at the very beginning of the country, it was like a Christian state. We did have a form of Christian nationalism. And it wasn't until and we had religious laws on the books.
Well, the formation, even though, yeah, you had Christians, but the main driving force behind the Christians escaping England to come to America was because those Christians that escaped were being persecuted in England and weren't being allowed to practice their religion as they wanted. And it's not like they were a monolith either. That there was different types of Christians that came here. So freedom of religion is the overarching driving force, not just specifically Christianity.
Laws on the books regarding things that now are considered the purview of People say it's the private domain. Things like sodomy and adultery and homosexuality, and even things like race mixing. There were laws on the books in states, and it was even adjudicated at the Supreme Court. It was not 100 years ago, within the last 100 years, where Supreme Court justices said that, of course, we're not going to allow gay marriage and sodomy. It's abominable. It's the oldest.
What are you sodomy phobic, bro, or what? Me personally, I do not date a girl unless I can stick it in her ass. I'm just saying. She got to eat pussy. She got to take it in the ass. Now that being said, I'm a classless heathen, y'all. Okay, I don't do this, play this whole fucking shame game. I just slap it on the table. So, but with that being said, I'm also going on 10 years single and celibate, waiting on true love. And if I never find that true love, I'm quite sure I will remain single and celibate the rest of my life, because I'm just done with anything less than fucking true love. I have not had true love my whole life. I regret sleeping with any of the girls I ever slept with, which was only 13. And so down from in Florida, that's a low number. That might sound like a high number in some parts of the country, but in Florida, where I come from, that is a very low number, actually. And I okay, 1 year in my life did I slut around where I had sex with girls where I didn't love them, and there was a good reason for that, because up till that point I had done nothing but have sex with girls I dated and loved, and I got tired of getting my heart broke, and that's my fault, because I kept picking girls that were not, I kept my picker was broken. Coming from a broken home, all you see is broken relationships, and that's something we have to transcend past. That's something we have to ascend past. Who you have sex with and choose to be your partner is very important, and that is treated very transiently in the modern era. But that is an intentional perception pushed on the masses in an effort to break up the family unit. And it has been an effort to drive a wedge between man and woman, between that divine bond for man and wife. Okay, and you see that in the breakdown of the family unit in America in the last 50 years, at least.
Law of man. And it wasn't until, and take a lot of credit for this.
Okay, now if down here at the bottom, right quick, little side quest, we got Myth Vision and Gnostic Informant. These guys are both cool. And then down here we got my favorite atheist, Durante Lamar. I recommend watching these guys. That they have awesome stuff going on. Myth Vision and Gnostic Informant constantly have experts, scholarly experts, and ancient texts and stuff on. They always have interesting guests on, interesting takes. I absolutely recommend. I mean, I only got like a handful of subscribers, so honestly, the subscribers I have don't even like some of these guys. They've told me specifically, not Durante, but that they've told me they don't like Gnostic Informant and Derek over here from Myth Vision, because I'll do reactions to them sometimes, and my subscribers are telling me the only reason I'm even watching these guys is because you're reacting to them, and we like you. So anyway, let's roll with it, motherfucker.
20th century that they began to drive a wedge and say, no, that's the realm of the private domain. If you want to have pornography and sodomy and gay marriage and surrogacy and contraceptives and abortion, well, that's really your right. That's your prerogative. And we can bring in as many immigrants as possible because this is a melting pot. It doesn't matter where they come from or what they believe or what they're about. It didn't really happen until the...
Well, let's make a distinction between legal immigration and illegal immigration. Now, America is founded on immigration. It's founded on taking the land from the natives initially. This is the Native Americans' land. Okay? So I just want to absolutely throw that truth out there. And so it is hilarious listening to all these Americans bitch about getting invaded by migrants. How the fuck do you think the Native Americans felt getting driven from their ancestral lands and corralled into some of the worst parts of the country? So I've absolutely, because I watch Native American channels too, I've extended olive branches to them, trying to get them on my podcast, and they shut me down just as quick or quicker than most followers of Abraham. Even though I'm not even criticizing them whatsoever. I am criticizing followers of Abraham, so I can understand it from the followers of Abraham.
United States fully liberalized in the past 100 years, that everything started to come apart when we lost our Christian faith, we lost our European heritage and our values and so on. So it's just about creating a closed society. We need to have a president that's in office that says, you know what, this is a Christian nation, this is a white nation, it's a European.
Now, when the election happened, I could tell that the elites are trying to create a civil war using primarily the driving force of religion, but religion is just one of many divisions that they are trying to juxtapose and interject into our culture and society. It is all part of the basic divide and conquer protocols. The more divisions that a people accepts amongst themselves, the easier they are to conquer. Because the one thing that scares the holy flying fuck out of the elites is the people, okay? Because there's way more of us than there are of them, coming together and unifying on a singular identity. That's what scares the fuck out of them, because they know something that they try to vehemently keep from the masses. Okay, the ones at the very top know this. We are all God. We all create our own worlds. Is what it is, motherfuckers. Our consciousness is an extension of the omni-consciousness. We are all co-creators within the Godhood. And I might be hearing some of you motherfuckers saying, oh, okay, Dane, well, I just heard you say you were a monotheist. Now you're saying that we're all gods. So now you're saying that there's billions of gods. No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, because I don't see us as separate. Because God is living through our lives. That is why he is the eternal living God. All of life is his life. We are not actually separate beings. We are all God experiencing himself through infinite amount of consciousness. Near infinite. Everything has a limit on it. And that's a fractal representation of everything in nature that we see. Everything in nature has a limit on it. From the periodic table, I mean, all you gotta do is look at the periodic table. Everything is built on atoms. That all atoms are entirely built on limit and meta levels.
And I don't think that means you can't have non-white people living in it. But we can all recognize that if America was 90% Nigerian, it wouldn't be America. If America was 90% Italian, it wouldn't be America. If it was 90% Brazilian, it would be something else, you know? And so we need to have a president that lays...
No, it would still be American, but it would just then be a Brazilian dominant America. It would be a re-America, a reimagined America. And that is exactly what's going on. They want... And when I say they, I'm talking about the elites. That they are trying to destroy the old America, and in the rebuilding, that is when they will be trying to construct their brave new world, right? There's books about it.
That down. And we do need to circumscribe liberty. Everybody holds liberty as the highest value, which now means freedom to be a degenerate, freedom to be a piece of shit. Go on drugs, get fat, cut your balls off, be black, do whatever you want. That's not what freedom means. Freedom means actually freedom from temptation and sin, which enslaves us.
I think I missed it. At the very beginning of this exchange, Sneeko says something like, okay, Nick, tell us about... how you want a Catholic, what do you say, like a Catholic jihad or something, or no, he said a Catholic caliphate. Okay, and the way he phrased that, Nick didn't even catch on to it, because he phrased that as if, you are following in our footsteps. But the Muslims created the caliphate and the jihad in response to what? To the Christian Crusaders. I like that sneaky little thing you did right there, Sneeko. I did realize that.
Freedom means you can start a business. Freedom means you can get married and have kids and take a stroll in the park and be a good person. Freedom doesn't mean you can be a total, loser. So that is kind of the
Well, I mean, it all depends on how you want to define freedom, don't it? So I told y'all we're going to be skipping around a little bit.
Muslim with Islam.
I'm saying that Islam has a tradition, just like Catholics and Christians have a tradition. And I think tradition should be kept as well. And as far as religious law goes, I don't know if I would, you're always hung up on the race. Look, we're both race mixed, okay? I'm not 100% white. You're not 100% anything. You're all over the place. But, and the thing is, like, I don't think there's anything necessarily immoral about race mixing. I'm against it. I'm talking more strictly about immigration than I am the mixing.
I'm not against it at all. I got mixed family. My ex-girlfriend was black. Some might say there is a strong vein of jungle fever in my family. Okay, and let me ask you this, to all the racist black people out there who think just because of the color of my skin, I can't say nigga, okay? How many of my fine-ass, blonde-haired, blue-eyed cousins do you get to fucking have kids with before I'm part of the family too? How many? Put a number on it. Whatever number it is you put on it, my family has put in its quota already, motherfuckers. You fuck-ass honkies. So is it limitless? So is it no matter what we do, it's just not good enough? Because if that's the case, then why the fuck even try?
The mixing... One, let's acknowledge the mixing is being promoted. That's the part, everybody always wants to pretend when it comes to...
Okay, people have the freedom to be with who the fuck they want to be with, you fuck-ass honky. Now, exactly, he did touch on a important topic right there, which is freedom is what you make of it. You can have the freedom to the right to carry, or you can have the freedom for the right to be free from gun violence, as they like to. That's how they're spinning it, right? But yet, we are never free from gun violence. You are not free from a technology that is already out there in the world. All you do is limit who has access to that technology. So, in every place that claims that they don't have guns, that's not true. Just most of the population doesn't have guns. The government still has guns. In every single place where guns are banned, the government has guns.
Race mixing that, I woke up one day and said, I don't like different people getting together. It's in every commercial. Yeah. Every commercial, it's a non-white male and a white female. Every TV show. Like, that is just in the same way that they're pushing homosexuality. It's very overt. They are pushing the mixing.
Sure.
Now, there always has been mixing. And I was a product of it as well. My grandmother married a Mexican guy in the 50s, and it wasn't done back then. So it's always been going on. But it's being promoted, I think, for sin. You have to really question the motivations of why people are doing that.
Here we go.
When you get away from that, which is fundamentally about humility, recognizing the limitations of man.
Oh, come now. Don't be talking about humility, Mr. Our religion is the best religion ever, and everyone must bow to our religion. It is such stark gaslighting whenever the Abrahamic religions talk about humility. They know nothing of humility. From a religion that demands supremacy over the entire fucking world, who kills anyone who believes something else besides what they do. That is, what is that? It's the antithesis of confidence. If you are confident, you don't have the need to project. You don't have the need to see someone else capitulate to your theology.
Mankind, recognizing the inherent sinfulness of some of our desires and some of our appetites. If you're not worshiping God.
Okay, name them, Nick. Name these sins that you are talking about, Nick. Name them, and I will show you somewhere in your fucking Bible where your God commands and accepts that same action that you are calling sinful and evil.
God, if you're not subordinated and obedient to God, who are you obedient to, or what? The devil, Satan,
There is no devil, okay? See, Christians, their God is in every way Jesus. To the Jews, their God is in no way Jesus. Christians have changed damn near everything about the Jewish religion. I got a big list of 20 different major things that Christians have changed. And how many things can you change about the eternal, unchanging God and still try to gaslight motherfuckers into believing it's the same God? Not only that, there's a verse in the Torah that says, do not add or subtract from my word, okay? Now, that's a very powerful statement right there, because that's more proof. The Christians added a whole new covenant. Okay, and every time you say, oh, those horrendous verses right there that command to kill people, those don't count anymore. That's contextual. That was for then, and this is now. This is a different day. Anyone who says that, you are attempting to subtract. But you're doing it in soft bitch ass language, okay? And okay, my biggest problem with followers of Abraham, just disavow these. It's a small fraction of the overall scriptures. There's beautiful things in every religion of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There's beautiful things in them. The majority, it's a small fraction that are horrendous, and I ask that you disavow those things. You are already disavowing those things in a soft bitch ass way when you say, "Oh, that was contextual. That was for then, not for now." Because when you say that, what you're really saying is the word of God is mutable. What you're really saying is that is not the divine, eternal word of God. You fuck ass honkies.
You're talking about just before I came on, idol worship, money, fame, sex.
Oh, I'm glad you brought it up, Nick. Idol worship. Idol worship. Okay. What is the source of divine revelation? Now, the followers of Abraham will say, this book is the source. And each of them have different books, though. Now, I understand Christians have parts of the Torah in their book, and they call it the Old Testament. But yet most Christians will say, yeah, that's the Old Testament. You know, it doesn't matter as much as the New Testament. And anything in the New Testament supersedes the Old Testament. So when you do that, that in itself, the whole New Testament thing is saying that the Old Testament is mutable. So let's get back to it. So the source of divine revelation is divine sovereignty. Divine sovereignty is our inseparable connection to the one true creator. Now, when a co-creator produces something physical, that is a totem. A totem is meant to serve as inspiration for viewers of that totem to search within for their own divine sovereignty, their own inseparable connection to the one true creator. The moment that you elevate that totem and say, this here totem, this thing I made, this is the exclusive source of divine revelation, which is exactly what all of you do with your holy books. At that point, that thing becomes a idol. It's an idol. You are idol worshipers, motherfuckers, all of you. So now they don't like it when I say this, because that activates your blood cult and sin worshiping tendencies. And they like to kill people that worship idols as they describe it. So when someone describes their holy book as an idol, they freak out. But if you sit there and really think about it, their holy books are an idol. Anything that is not the divine sovereignty, not even divine sovereignty claims exclusivity, and it did that for a reason. One, because it does not need to claim exclusivity, because divine sovereignty knows that all divine revelation is its divine revelation. So, claiming exclusivity of a totem and trying to elevate that into the position of exclusive divine revelation, that is a sign of weakness. When you project power, okay, that is a defect mechanism to mask weakness. And when you project power, you lose power. This is natural entropy through the metaphysics world of theology.
Power, whatever. So, people approach religion in public life with some trepidation. They're hesitant and fearful about what it represents. I'm fearful about the opposite, which is if you don't have Jesus and the Mother Mary and the Catholic Church in the middle of it, which represent goodness, self-sacrifice, love, humility, love of God, the eternal, the transcendent, the immanent, what are you worshiping? And you see, it's totally hollow. At the Democrat convention, it's abortion. It's literally...
Well, you say hollow, like it's a bad thing. And let me explain. You just don't understand the nature of hollow. You don't understand it, Nick, or else you wouldn't be so hollowphobic. You don't understand the nature of darkness, or else you wouldn't be so darkphobic. You know what else is hollow, Nick? Do you? You know what else is hollow and dark and empty? The atom. The atom, motherfucker. The basic building block of all of existence. All of existence is built on the infinite scaffold of dark emptiness.
Killing babies. And they say it's about defects and rape. No, we all know it's a form of birth control. We all know men and women are having a lot of promiscuous sex. Sometimes the contraceptives fail and they get pregnant. And then they say, I don't want to put up with this kid. Let's kill it. And if you see what abortion is, it is. Now, people will say, well, what if you take a morning after pill? Well, I suppose, Catholics say that's the same. I understand why people say in principle it's different. But you're talking about, in some cases, a pregnancy that's, 4 or 5 months in. That's like a baby. And it does look something like child sacrifice because you're killing.
Okay. Now, once again, you are saying child sacrifice as if that is a bad thing. Let me explain. Your entire fucking religion is built on and centered around child sacrifice, motherfucker. Christianity. God killed his child. Okay, so Moloch is bad, right? Moloch is bad. Why? Because parents sacrifice their children. Oh, okay. That is what makes Moloch bad. But wait, God sacrificed his child, but that's good. Okay, unequally applied logic. Much there, Nick. So let's be honest here, Nick. You don't really have anything against child sacrifice. Your entire theology is built upon child sacrifice. So if I have a kid and I kill my kid and I say, no, it's okay, I killed him for you, that makes it better? No? No or yes? No? If no, then you have to equally apply that same logic to your whole fucking religion. But you won't do that.
Something that otherwise would have been a person out of convenience because you'd rather have sex because you're overcome with lust. And that has become the center. That's in the heart of the dominant political party. Like that is the uni party of America, the Democrats. And that's their agenda, is abortion. So without Jesus at the center, Mother Mary and baby Jesus, you get the inverse, which is
Okay. So I'm pretty sure you believe in the Trinity, Nick. It's fair to say that you believe in the Trinity. Most Christians do. So if you believe in the Trinity, that means that Jesus impregnated his mother. That is incest, Nick. There's no way to get around it. If you believe in the Trinity, you have to concede that Jesus impregnated his mother. And not only that, if you believe in the Trinity, that is dissociative identity disorder. Yep, I got a whole list full of evidence and proofs of this, okay? So there are multiple scriptures where Jesus doesn't know what the Father is doing or thinking. Okay, that is textbook dissociative identity disorder. where you have different identities, the same person sharing different identities, and each identity isn't aware of what the other identity is quite doing or thinking, that they are completely different identities contained within the same person. Furthermore, going to the okay, Yahweh, right? Impregnated Mary. I know you guys like to have the cop out and say, "Oh, it wasn't sexual," but okay, that's fine. I'll even grant that it wasn't sexual. Okay, that's fine. But yet, did Yahweh marry Mary? No, he did not. So Yahweh didn't care enough about his son to marry his mother. It's true. It's true. And then how many females that capitulate to the Christian religion have been ridiculed for having a child out of wedlock? How many? So many of them. Yet that should be looked on as holy, since that is the legacy of Mary. That is the legacy of Mary. Now, and then Christians want to say Jesus is the only sinless person that ever walked. Okay, well, Jesus' very birth was a sin, as he was born out of wedlock. I know, hard-hitting facts, you guys. I know, it's hard-hitting. And the thing is, you have to equally apply your logic if you want your logic to be respected at all.
Abortion, killing a mother killing her child, instead of the Virgin Mary obediently bearing the Savior, the fruit of the womb, saying yes to the angel Gabriel and having the child that saves mankind, women are killing children, and that's what the Democrats are running on. And there's no party that's saying the Republicans are afraid to even stand on it. They're saying, yeah, we're kind of pro-choice too. So that's what you get without religion in public life. So
it sounds like submission.
He's making it sound like all Republicans are like that. And no, there is a huge divergency in the Republican Party. Now, granted, absolutely, you do have liberal Republicans. You do have conservative Democrats. They are intermixed. They are two wings of the same bird of prey. The job that policemen are actively involved in every single day is extortion and human trafficking. But yet, that is state-sponsored extortion and human trafficking. That is culturally acceptable by most people because they have been born into the system of oppression, and they have mass Stockholm syndrome to accept this broken system. Thanks, Alex Jones. I like that term, mass Stockholm syndrome. Okay, I got that term from Alex, sure. But Alex is controlled opposition. These guys are controlled opposition. I am not. I'm a free motherfucker, dude.
The way you talk about it is identical to what we believe in as Muslims. We do love Allah. We fear Allah. God. That's the same word. And part of that love is worship, and that's part of what we're supposed to do. Part of submission is worship, because we believe that.
I do not submit to the broken theology of Abraham. That is the core tenet of my entire channel. Now, the whole reason for me starting my channel is I want to go around interviewing true believers of every theology. I just haven't had the money for the equipment yet, unfortunately. The closest I've come to the whole reason why I started my channel is starting my podcast, which I've had a handful of episodes. I haven't had one in a while because my phone was all fucked. My audio was fucked. So I got a new phone recently, and right now I have 2 atheists, 1 Satanist, a Gnostic Christian, and a Jew that will come on. I really want to get at least 1 Muslim and at least 1 biblical Christian. I'd love to have a Native American on. Yeah. So I really like how my podcast is shaping up. It's still in its infancy stages, so there's definitely room for improvement, but I'm onto something because people keep wanting to talk with other people, but only in their own lanes. I'm trying to open up a platform where people of every single different lane can cross each other and examine each other and converse with each other. And then the viewer viewing that will have the maximum exposure to the most amount of perspectives on a myriad of different topics and subjects.
Our natural state is going to worship something. And you notice that even with atheists and disbelievers, liberals, they end up worshiping something at the end of the day. That's our natural state. We're going to always going to find something that is in charge of us. And if that's not God, it ends up being for, the destiny atheist type, it ends up being your desires. It ends up being all the things that we restrict as Muslims. Like we don't believe in drinking, sex out of wedlock. We restrict a lot of our innate desires, things that are going to give us instant dopamine in order to serve Allah and to do what we're supposed to do, because that's what he wants us to do. So it sounds like it's...
And what they're supposed to do is kill anyone who does not capitulate to their given holy book. Okay, check it out. There is no word or name ever spoken that is separate from the one true creator. Meaning, every word and name ever spoken is the word and name of the one true creator. For there is no word or name possible to be spoken without the breath of life which empowers it.
It sounds like what you're describing is submission. I've never heard, I'm surprised you disagree with that.
Well, because submission kind of implies, there are themes in submission, which are like humility, and recognition of authority and recognition of dominion. And in that sense, it's similar because we approach God humbly and, we do recognize his authority and sovereignty. But I guess the aspect I disagree, what Christians say is that God is love. And so it's a fear of God, it's obedience.
Oh, I got your ass on that one, motherfucker. God is love, huh? And Jesus too, right? Of course, because you think Jesus is God. But check it out. No one can love me if you don't hate your mother, hate your brother, hate your father, hate your sister. There's a whole lot of hate talk in there, little buddy, for being the God of love. And then there's also the whole, I don't come to bring peace but the sword. Okay, that's a weird thing for God of love to say. Now, wouldn't it be better to say the only way that you can love me truly is to love your mother, to love your brother, to love your sister, to love your dad? Wouldn't that make more sense for a God of love? Why do you have to hate everything in order to love him? That is not logical. That does not follow. And then they want to say God is not the author of confusion. Oh yeah? Okay. Tell that to the Christian Bible has the most contradictions in it out of all the Abrahamic holy books. Now all the holy books do have a bunch of contradictions in it, but the Bible by far has the most. 700. 700. At least 100. It's any there is a book that or article that classifies 700 different contradictions in the Christian Bible.
Of God, but on the fundamental level, we would describe it as love. Submission to me sounds a bit more coercive, whereas love...
Well, that's just calling it what the fuck it is. Because exactly what you're doing right now is coercive. You are being disingenuous, calling something love that is clearly demonstrable to not be love. There has been 100 million people killed in the names of Jesus, Yahweh, and Allah. And that's conservatively, 100 million people. There are people right now being killed in the name of Yahweh. Shit, Yahweh, Jesus, and Allah. That there's people right now being killed in their fucking names.
Is a bit more voluntary. It's a choosing of, in the sense that the creation story of Christianity is that God gave us a choice. We have to choose God. He wants us to...
There is no choice that is separate from God. To say that there is a choice that is separate from God is to say there is a path that is separate from God. And to say that there is a path that is separate from God is to say that God does not exist everywhere. That is admitting that God is not omnipotent or what is it? Omnipresent. And also, you can only choose one, okay? If you believe in hell, you cannot say that God is omnipresent. Because the whole definition of hell is a place in which God does not exist.
want him back, in a sense. He loved us first, and we love him back. And then we have to apply that to everybody. You know, we have to love the whole body of the church, the whole body of Christ as we love God.
The Bible is an idol. The church is an idol. And any state basing itself off the Bible and church are idols. Now chill out, motherfuckers. I don't have scriptures demanding harm on my fellow man for idolatry. That's y'all. So when I make a very good logical case as to why Bible, church, and state are idols, y'all get all kinds of uppity about it because you're projecting. You're like, oh shit, you just made a good case about this being an idol. He wants to kill us, but that's projecting. I don't want to kill you. I'm just pointing out, every time you motherfuckers want to go around wagging your finger about what an idol is, I point that finger right fucking back at you motherfuckers and throw your Bible right in your face. Whoop, whoop, nigga, whoop.
Which is to say, you know, we love other people. That's why Christ says the greatest commandment is to love each other. And the greatest thing a person can do is lay down their life.
Well, he says that, but then he turns around and says, the only way you can love me is if you hate everything else. So that's a contradicting message right there. And that is being the author of confusion. And now they say God is not the author of confusion, but yet there is confusion built into the Bible. But then they say God inspired or directly wrote the Bible, depending on which Christian you ask. So, but if God is not the author of confusion, but yet there's confusion built into the fabric of the Bible, then what would that tell you logically? That would tell you that God did not write the Bible. If you want to, for that verse to hold true, that God is not the author of confusion, because those things can't coexist.
For their fellow man. So I suppose, and I'm not an expert on Islam, so I can't make a perfect contrast, but I guess that would be the main difference. Because, of course, Christ dying on the cross is the epitome of a loving sacrifice. God dying.
Is it? But is it a sacrifice if you know you're not going to die? And if you're saying that Jesus is God, then you would have to say also that Jesus is all-knowing, which there's verses proving otherwise. There's verses proving that Yahweh isn't all-knowing. There's verses proving that Allah isn't all-knowing in the Quran. But I'll just play along, okay? I'll play along. If Jesus is God, then that means he knew he wasn't going to really die. So is it a sacrifice? At that point, you are live action role-playing a sacrifice in order to manipulate people into submitting to you. You fuck-ass honky. Come get some motherfuckers.
For us, out of endless love. And so that's where, you know, I suppose it's a little bit different. I don't think there's any analog in Islam.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, but it still is... we're going to worship and we love God because he created everything, and it's just the objective reality. God exists, God created everything, so naturally we worship and we serve him because that's what we're supposed to do, and that's our everyday function. And again, I want more Christians in America to read.
There is no provable reality that is objective. All reality is subjective, because reality does not exist aside from a consciousness to observe that reality. All consciousness is relative and subjective. So anything that relies on the perception of a consciousness is inherently relative and subjective. Therefore, all truth, all morality, all reality is subjective and relative. There is no such thing as objective morality. There is no such thing as objective truth. There is no such thing as objective reality.
And Trump is destroying that by posting negative things about Islam for no reason. Is of how many similarities we have. You know, we love Jesus is mentioned in the Quran more than Muhammad, peace be upon him. Even Mary, for example, I grew up in a Catholic church before I was a disbeliever. Before I was an atheist for a long time in college and this. And Mary, if you see the stained glass windows, she has her head covered the way Muslims do. Muslim women followed the example of Maryam. And if you read Talmud, they believe that Mary was a liar. They believe that she was, they believe very negative things about her, the words that I don't want to use. And they believe that Jesus is literally burning in excrement and feces. That's what the Talmud.
You mean Mary is a liar? Why would someone think that who said, I didn't really have sex, I just had a baby? That would be the logical perception, is to say, no, you're fucking lying. So if someone today said, I didn't really have sex, I just had a baby. Okay, Sneako, let's be honest right here.
Talmud says. So people like Trump will speak about Christian values. He'll use words like Palestinian as an insult, but he doesn't realize that if he is a Christian, what we have in common is 99% of the issue. Again, we don't.
Well, Trump is a controlled opposition, part of the elites that are trying to bring about the New World Order, okay? And he is, with the rest of them, pushing the divide and conquer protocols, just like the last president and the last president and the last president. The last president that was actually for the people, that they slaughtered him in front of everyone and made example out of him, JFK. Okay, JFK was about to abolish the Federal Reserve. Yeah, they didn't like that. They didn't like that because they need the Federal Reserve. They needed it to collapse our economy. Our entire monetary system was a debt system. It was always intended to collapse. A debt system will always collapse. A credit system can do nothing but expand. And they know this.
Believe Christ is God. The word Christ in Latinized Greek, it means Messiah, which we also believe. We believe Jesus is going to return the same way you do.
Actually, Christ was a term for a drug back in the day. There's a lot of research that's gone into this. My niggas right here, Neil and Derek, Gnostic Informant and Myth Vision, they've done a lot of videos on this. There's another one called Semen is All Over. That's a channel. That's a channel, guys, on YouTube, okay? Not on OnlyFans. His last name is Seaman, though, okay? So the story goes, anyway. But he's done all kinds of videos on this. Christ is actually a term for a drug. They would have a Christing.
Defeat the Antichrist. That's what this all goes down to. See this?
Okay. I was wondering where that was. Okay, I couldn't remember exactly where that part was. I'm glad I didn't skip this. So how can you believe, Sneako and Muslims, how can you believe in the Antichrist if you don't believe in the Christ? And the Christ as the Christians hold it, which is the Messiah, the incarnated God, which that is not what the Muslims believe. So how can you believe in an Antichrist if you don't believe in the Christ? Honest question, because I honestly know the least about the Muslim religion. I do study it on channels. I'm telling you guys, I spend a lot of time on theology, and it's rare that I watch a video without commenting. Actually, I just started watching Sneako. I've seen him around and stuff, but I haven't watched his channels. And I'm about to be doing a bunch of reactions on Sneako. And I dropped a bunch of comments on this here video, and he erased a bunch of them. He didn't, not all of them, but he erased a bunch of them. And I would like to tell you, Sneako, that is a sign of weakness, okay? If I have a very logical and valid argument, you must be able to overcome that with logic. You must be able to logically overcome that argument. And when you go trying to sweep that argument under the rug and just erase it, that is a sign of weakness. Because true confidence would not shy away from the challenge of logic if you have the superior logic, you fuck-ass honky.
Celebrities with the one eye. If you look at the dollar bill with the Egyptian pyramid and has the one eye on it, that's all allegiance to the Dajjal, which is the Antichrist. Literally believe that they have a different Messiah and that he's going to kill. They hate Jesus. They want to kill Jesus when he comes back. We believe in the same Messiah. We have that in common. But so many Christians, and I would maybe say so many Americans, will be more specific, have no idea about this, and they don't even they don't take the time to look into it.
Yes, let's go back in time to 9/11. Let's go back in time to 9/11. Okay. That was the initiation of the biggest division juxtaposition upon society, trying to turn Christians and Muslims against each other. And do you guys? Okay, what was the other one? Fuck. God damn, I need to. This brain fog ain't helping nothing. Fuck. I'm a fucktard, y'all. All right, like I've accepted it, and like I just try to work with it. What else can I do? Right? I just work with it.
Well, they don't recognize the what some is. I would say it's less because here's the thing. I mean, Muslims and Christians, there's some similarities, but they are incompatible in the sense that we do disagree about the nature of God, and
Okay. Okay. God. Okay. The fractal singularity omnimatrix. There are 5 traits that I use, scientifically, empirically proven traits that I use to define God. It is unity, consciousness, dark, light, and paradox. I'm developing my own theology. I'm writing a book. I'm writing 2 books, one for my poetry, one for my theology. And my theology will be sprinkled into my poetry as well. No one gives a fuck, Dane. Roll with it.
So that is something that is intractable, and Muslims and Christians want to evangelize. So we have similarities. We can kind of stand next to each other, but it does get a little tricky. The third element coming in is what really kind of unites us, which is that we're both under occupation by the Jews, in a sense. I mean, you've got influence in the Muslim world, you've got it in the Christian world, and the thing that Christians don't get right.
Yeah, Big Daddy Jew. That they're playing the Christians against the Muslims. Absolutely, it's part of the divide and conquer. Now, why is it that Christians and Muslims claim relationship with the Jews anyway? Why is that? Because originally they were movements that opposed the Jewish religion, but they got co-opted and brought back into the Jewish religion. And so Christianity and Islam are reconstructed from their original defiance and opposition towards Judaism. They were reconstructed into funnels to funnel people into Judaism. Now, there's a big difference between your everyday common Jew that lives all around the world and the Jews that rule Israel. There's a big difference there. Israel thinks that they own all Jews all around the world. And there's a lot of those Jews that support that idea, but there's other Jews that don't. Because Judaism is not a monolith. Christianity is not a monolith. Islam is not a monolith. They like to portray that to the world, but they are not. And those are fractals of the echoing truth that we are all our own God. And this is evident in the fractures inherent within each religion. If they were all a true monolith, there would not be all these different sects and infighting. SECTS.
Right. Is that Islam is not the religion of the Old Testament, because after it's rejected Christ, and before that also, but in the intervening 2,000 years, they have developed a completely different religion, whether it's mystical Judaism with the Kabbalah or whether it's legalistic Judaism.
Yeah, kind of like Christianity today looks nothing like Christianity in the very first century after Christ. Okay, the very first Christian Bible totally excluded the Old Testament. Not only did it exclude it, it condemned the Old Testament and the Jewish God, and essentially called the Jewish God Satan. Marcion, the Marcion Bible, okay?
With the Talmud, and there's tension and fusion, and there's an interplay between those things. But they have developed a completely different religion, and Christians have it in their mind like you've got the Old Testament and the New Testament.
He says that as if there's not such vast variety within Christianity that a lot of them consider the other Christians a totally different religion in itself. Like I watch a lot of different, because I watch a lot of theology channels, but I would say that the highest percentage of them are Christian channels. So you have the Catholics and the Orthodox, who each one of them say that they are the supreme, truest Christianity, and they look down on all the other ones. Father Moses McPherson, he's a channel I watch, which shout out Father Moses, but I have heard him say, yes, all these Protestants, that they aren't really practicing true Christianity. What they are practicing isn't even really Christianity. Okay, so that's just a fractal echo of this same point that Nick is trying to make in regards to Judaism. Okay, why the cognitive bias where you can see the splits and fractures and all the other branches except for your own?
And the Jews got off before the New Testament. They got off at their stop, and so they're the first episode, and
why is it that he's not blocking? And this is Sneako's channel, and he's editing it, but he doesn't edit out when they say Christian. He doesn't edit out when they say Muslim, but he edits out every time they say Jew. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? See, now I know I'm critical. I'm critical, but that's a defensive response. My criticism and my criticality, because your religions demand my submission or my death, and I will never submit. I will. I don't have kids, but if I ever have kids, they will never submit. I will never date a follower of Abraham, but if I did, I would want one wife from each one, a Jewish wife, a Christian wife, and a Muslim wife. And I will stick it in all their asses, and I will have kids with each one of them, and I will teach them the dark light theology so that they can overturn those theologies from within the own theology. Is the only reason that I would if I had a wife of one of them, I would have a wife of all of them, and that would be the entire point of it.
The sequel, but it's not true because they continue to develop a religion, and so you could ask somebody, is the Zohar a Christian text? I mean, how does that have any relation to Christianity? The Zohar came in the Middle Ages. They say it goes back to Moses or Abraham, but the Zohar's got nothing to do with us. And the Talmud didn't come until 400 years after Christ. And they say that, the rabbis have been debating the Mishnah during the time of Christ, but they didn't put it down and they didn't codify it, and, they didn't complete it until 1,000 years later, practically. So, and that's where it really is a form of ignorance. And throughout history, this has happened where, for example, the disputation in Paris or in Barcelona or in
Jesus never, when he was alive, there's no source of when he said, like, pray to me. There's no a source where he ever claimed to be divine. In fact, many times we believe that he said that he claimed to be a prophet. And even the slogan I see all the time whenever I tweet about a...
Let's talk about that, Sneako. A prophet. A prophet is a consciousness who communicates with the one true creator. All consciousness communicates with the one true creator through our divine sovereignty. Now, there are meta levels to how aware you are of your divine sovereignty. So in essence, there are meta levels to how much you realize your own divinity and your own prophecy. We are all co-creators within the Godhood. We all create the worlds that we live in. We do that through our beliefs, our thoughts, and our actions, okay? Now, so essentially, we are a sea of gods, or better, more accurately stated, there is infinite expressions of the one true creator. So how do some elevate over others? It is by manipulating your fellow co-creators into relinquishing their divine sovereignty, which is done through what? Your holy books, motherfuckers.
I have so many groypers that reply, Christ is king. You have a very strong support base on X. And I like a lot of them because we agree about so much. But they say Christ is king, and it got me thinking, like, what is that?
Christ is a desert war god of hypocrisy, bro. I got all the proofs. I got all the evidence. And you can't discount this proof or evidence without crying special pleading. But when you cry for special pleading, you then destroy any veracity of your logic.
And me, I've said it before at Fuentes Rally too, because I think for America to actually become, to have Taliban rules is unlikely, and it's more likely that Christians have some sort of Sharia law. But then I realized, like, well, where is that? Because there's no law, there's no Christian law specifically. And if you look at the phrase "Christ is King," because if you believe Christ is God, why not just say Christ is God? If you say Christ is King, he literally wasn't king. He was never in charge. He was never the ruler.
Yes, yeah, that's another lie of Jesus, okay? Another lie of Jesus is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. There's all kinds of evidence of Jesus lying. If you are the prime sinless example, or if you are the prime example of a sinless man, then I should not be able to find any example of you committing sin. But I have a whole list of the sins and lies of Jesus. I got a whole printout that is proof that Jesus is not the way, the truth, the life, or the Prince of Peace. Okay, so that's more lies of Jesus.
Anything. Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was actually the ruler.
Okay, Sneako. All right, this is the first time I've watched a long form Sneako video. You shouldn't rush through that quite so quick, because he does it every time, because you're supposed to say that as a Muslim, right? And he acts like it's all I'm saying is you just try to get through it a little bit too quick, Sneako. And I think other people pick up on that too. True believers of your own religion, they pick up on that too, Sneako. He says, Muhammad, peace be upon him. Just like trying to get through it. It's like fucking obligatory. You got to say that with your fucking heart, Sneako. If I'm picking up on that, and I'm not even a true believer of your religion, I know true believers of your religion are picking up on that, Sneako. I'm just giving you a heads up, bro. Just take an extra half a second or an extra second to Muhammad, peace be upon him. Put some truth and feeling into that shit, homie. Stand on that shit, motherfucker. Don't rush through it.
He governed the Arabian Peninsula at the time. He was. You could say that he was a king, but Jesus is king. I don't understand where this phrase came from.
Well, the disagreement I have with Islam is I believe that Christ died on the cross and was resurrected. Muslims believe he was replaced at the last second by a body double and ascended into heaven and said to God, I don't know why they're worshiping. We don't believe that. We believe that the crucifixion was an historical event and the resurrection was an historical event. And that's the basis of the...
There is outside source corroborative evidence that Jesus very well was a historical figure. There is not outside corroborative evidence that Jesus resurrected. There is no outside source corroborative evidence that there was a fucking parade of zombies that rose from the grave, as was claimed in the Bible. There is all kinds of historical, archaeological, and scientific disproofs of claims within each one of the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. So if these books were authored by the all-knowing, one true creator, there would not be these fractures, these inconsistencies, these lies weaved into it.
Believe in the divinity of Christ. And if you believed that Christ died on...
I believe in the divinity of all of creation. Every quanta of creation is divine. To say there is a single quanta within the entire omniverse that is not divine is to say that there is no one true creator.
On the cross, you'd be a Christian too. That's the disagreement. And as far as Christ being king, well, Christ said, my kingdom is not of this world. And that was the source of the Jews' frustration, because the Jews were expecting a Messiah, but they were expecting a King David.
Then that's not the sole and explicit source, because Jesus actually did not fulfill any of the fucking prophecies that the Messiah was supposed to fulfill, which is why the majority of the Jews never accepted Jesus as the Messiah. I got Jewish friends that I talk to about this shit, bro.
They were expecting a conquering Messiah who would be the king and make Israel the center of the universe.
And they're still expecting that. And they're still expecting for their actual prophecies to be fulfilled. There you go, trying to appropriate their God again, motherfuckers. See, I personally think Christianity and Islam would have had a stronger religion had they not tried to tie it to Judaism. But again, I think way back in antiquity, originally they were rebellions against Judaism, but they were later co-opted and wrote back into Judaism to act as a theological funnel to funnel people back into Judaism.
That's what they wanted. And God didn't give them what they wanted. God gave them a different kind of a king. And that's why they mocked him, in the gospel story.
Okay, you see the way he said that? But God didn't give them what they... No, it's not what they wanted. It is what their holy scriptures have prescribed to them to describe the Messiah that they are waiting for, you fuck-ass honky.
They put on his head a crown of thorns, and they gave him a reed, and they said, "Oh, here he is, King of the Jews. They put him on a cross. Here he is, the King of the Jews." And they mocked him. They mocked his claim to divinity. But Christ said, "I didn't come to conquer and be a king. I'm from another kingdom."
See, I don't even need to mock your religions. All I have to do is point out the inconsistencies in your religions and let your fucking religion mock itself.
Different kind of kingdom. And so that's what we mean. And we do say that Christ is God. We say Christ is God. We say Christ is Lord. We believe that Christ is just...
Bro, let's get real. Yeah, sure, you do say that, sure. But the vast majority of the time, because I hit all the theology councils or channels, it is always Christ is king, Christ is king. And it's like almost every time I see that, I have to go in there and make a correction. Actually, Jesus is a desert war god of hypocrisy. They say every knee shall bow and every tongue shall wag. Okay, and that is actually a verse that's in the Torah. The Christians took that from the Torah and then they applied it to Jesus. So that never in history has that been true for Jesus, but also never in history has that been true for Yahweh. So that is another example for a lie for both of those religions.
As much God as the Father and the Holy Spirit. And he did claim to be God. He said, "Before Abraham was, I am." Because that's what God's name is I am. And when Jesus said that, that's when the Jews said he's a blasphemer. They said he's claiming to be God, kill him. And that's really the thing is, there's little dispute. When you look at the stories about Christianity, they date back really to the 1st century. And even the non-Christian sources date back to the same time. They're contemporary. There's no dispute that the crucifixion happened. There is dispute about the resurrection, obviously. Secular.
Well, there is actually scholarly dispute that Jesus was a historical figure. There is scholarly disputes about that. Now the predominant consensus is that Jesus was a historical figure, and they crucified so many motherfuckers. I think it is absolutely likely that they crucified a motherfucker named. Actually, Jesus. The name Jesus didn't even. The J didn't even get invented till the 1700s or so, they say. So actually, Jesus isn't even the real name of the historical figure that you're fucking talking about. And that's what makes it funny when people say, "In the name of Jesus." It's like, you dumb motherfucker, that wasn't even his name. Now the actual name of that figure was revealed to me. It is Yesayave. That is the actual name of the historical figure to which you are attempting to refer to. And even if it's not, I identify it as the actual name. I'm omnitrans, motherfuckers. Yeah, boy. Thank you, transgenders, for opening that trans door. Thank you, transgenders. But to those transgenders, I will ask you, is gender the only construct that we can transcend? Come now. Come now. There seems to be this consensus among transgenders that gender is the only social construct that you can transcend. That's fucking stupid. If you can transcend one, you can transcend all. But see, now the elites, they are trying to use the transgenders to indoctrinate them, to gatekeep, to make sure that no one else thinks that they can transcend a different social construct besides gender, which is a weakness. I am omnitrans. I can transcend all social constructs. What am I? I'm transracial. Yeah, motherfuckers. Oh yeah, y'all done fucked up now. I'm transracial. I'm half black. I'm half red. I'm half white. I'm half brown. You call me Chief Dark Brownie Cracker, motherfuckers. What's up? Okay, okay. And you might be saying, Dane, you just said 4 quarters make a whole. Or you just said 4 halves make a whole, but those are quarters. And okay, I'm trans numerical too, motherfuckers. I can identify numbers to be whatever number I want. Y'all done fucked up. Y'all done fucked up. You created a monster. I'm omnitrans, motherfuckers. Let's go. I will debate anyone on that shit. And I actually not debate. I will have those discussions. I don't believe in debate. Because for debate to be accurate, then objective truth must be real. Objective truth is not real. There's no such thing as objective truth. There is only subjective truth. It is subjective to the consciousness observing it. And then you might say, okay, Dane, well, because a lot of people will roll with me on there is no objective morality, but when I say there is no objective truth, they're like, whoa, our entire science is based off objective truth. Is it? Is it? Show me one scientific axiom or precept that was developed outside of a consciousness. Oh, they're like, okay, Dane, well, that rock right there is objectively real. That rock right there is objectively true. I'm like, oh, is it? Is it objectively true? How would you know? Well, we get other people to look at it and they see the exact same thing. Oh, so you defer to a different consciousness to confirm your perception? You see where I'm going with this? Motherfuckers. So you're asking another subjective relative perception if your perception is accurate, and then you can try to multiply subjectivity unto infinity and call it objectivity, but subjectivity will never be objectivity. It will always be subjectivity. You fuck ass honkies. Let's roll with it.
People don't believe it happened. But there's really, you either believe that Christ was God or he wasn't. But there's really no middle ground.
False dichotomy. False fucking dichotomy. The early Christians did not believe Christ was God. Not nearly all of them. That didn't become mainstream until Paul got in the picture, okay? It should be called Paulianity, not Christianity. Because Paul is majorly responsible for shaping Christianity into what it is today. So what Nick just presented was a false dichotomy, which is either he is God or he is nothing. But then you got the Muslims right there saying, nah, bro, he's a prophet. He's like close to God, but he ain't God, motherfucker. So that is a false dichotomy right there, Nick. Thank you very much.
Some people like to say, well, he was like this great social teacher. Well, he was some other thing. He said he was God. So either he said he was God and he rose from the dead, or...
He never explicitly said he was God. He never explicitly said that. I got a whole printout of the arguments for and against the Trinity, okay? And he never explicitly said that. You have to cobble together a couple different sayings of Jesus and try to twist it into making it said that he said that he is God. Okay, so now I believe in the Christ consciousness, but they co-opted and twisted the original teachings of Jesus. Okay, Jesus knew the truth that we are all God, but they couldn't have that truth getting out. Okay, that truth is for the elites of the world who want to hoard that exclusively for themselves and not share that truth. They want to manipulate their fellow co-creators into relinquishing their divine sovereignty, relinquishing their powers into the cultural structures and systems that they create, the elites. And that movement has been massively successful. The power that the elites have is lended to them by the people who capitulate to the broken theologies which support the systems that they created. God damn, I'm spitting fire. I'm going to have to do this in 2 sections because this is already going to take forever to upload. This is going to take damn near all day to upload this hour-long thing. So I'll get back to it. All right, Sneeko. All right, Nick. Open invitation for both you motherfuckers to participate in my podcast, The Theology Council. It is a safe space where people of varied perspectives can discuss unsafe and controversial subjects. So, I am the brightest night, I am the darkest light, and I am ascending, as are we all. The dark light is upon you. Stay beautiful, motherfuckers.